Have you ever lived with someone for so long that you stop questioning the things you should? Because you trust them, because you love them, because the alternative feels too painful to imagine. That was me, 40 years old, 20 years into marriage, believing I understood the man I built a life with, but I didn't, not even close. And it all started with those extended business trips, the ones that seemed harmless at first, until they slowly became the unraveling thread of my entire life. My name is Emily. I turned 40 last spring, and I remember thinking, finally, a stable life, a predictable life, a life I can trust. I had a good job, a warm home, and a marriage I believed in. My husband Daniel traveled often for work consulting, negotiating deals, flying to different states. It was normal in our marriage. Expected routine, some wives hated it, but I didn't. I trusted him, truly. In our entire marriage, there had never been a moment, not one, where I questioned his loyalty or intentions. He was charming, reliable, a good father to our teenage daughter, Abby, the kind of husband who never forgot birthdays and always insisted. I call him after every doctor's appointment because he wanted to know everything. He knew my coffee order, my fears, my dreams, my routines. So when his work trips started becoming more frequent, I didn't panic. I just assumed life was evolving. Work was changing. Success had a cost. That was what he always told me. Success takes sacrifice. A little travel never hurt anyone, but I didn't realize then that the sacrifice wasn't his. It was mine. It happened last year. His company sent him to Chicago for an investor meeting. He was supposed to be gone for 3 days. On the third evening, he called with tension in his voice. They need me here longer. Maybe 2 more days. I didn't think much of it. Work emergencies happen. Deadlines change. Life is unpredictable. But when he came home 5 days later, he wasn't the same. He hugged Abby longer than usual, as if comforting himself. He kissed my forehead, but not my lips. He smelled different, not like airports and hotel soap, but something warmer. Something floral, I noticed. Of course I noticed. We've been married 20 years. A wife knows her husband, but I brushed it off. Maybe he switched shampoos. Maybe the hotel had some scented detergent. That was red flag number 1. But I folded it neatly and placed it on a mental shelf labeled, "Stop overthinking." In the months that followed, Daniel's work trips doubled, then tripled. What used to be 2 or 3 days became a week, sometimes 10 days, and every time it was always the same excuse. Things are taking longer than expected. Negotiations changed. There's a complication. His answers were always believable because he was believable. Daniel had a gift. He could look you straight in the eye and make you feel calm, safe, reassured, even when something inside you whispered otherwise. Still, I wasn't suspicious. Not yet. It wasn't until Abby pointed out something that I truly started paying attention. We were having dinner one night, just the 2 of us, and she casually said, "Mom, why does Dad always leave on Thursdays now? He used to leave Mondays or Tuesdays." I froze. She was right. It had changed, but Abby wasn't done. And why does he come back at night instead of afternoons? He always seems tired. That word sank into me because tired could mean anything. Work exhaustion, stress, or something else. I brushed her off gently because I didn't want my daughter carrying suspicions. I didn't have the courage to confront. But that night, after she went to sleep, I sat alone at the table just staring at the empty seat, where Daniel always sat when he wasn't traveling, and for the first time in our marriage, I felt something I had never felt before. Doubt. The turning point came during one of Daniel's extended trips. He was supposed to be in Denver, gone for 5 days. On day 4, he called me late, much later than usual. His voice was tense, low, almost shaky. They're pushing the meeting again. I might need to stay a few extra days. But there was a sound in the background, a soft clinking. Glasses, silverware, people talking quietly. It sounded like a restaurant? A fancy one. I asked him, "Are you at dinner?" He paused just a second, but a second too long, then he said, "Yeah," the team insisted. But something was off. His tone, the atmosphere, the way he rushed to end the call. "Love you. Gotta run." Click. I stared at my phone, feeling a strange heaviness fill my chest, and then my phone buzzed again. A message from my friend Claire. "Is Dan back yet? I thought I saw someone who looked just like him at Harborview tonight." Harborview, our local upscale restaurant, 10 minutes from our house. My heart dropped. A cold wave washed through me. That was impossible. "He was in Denver," I typed back. "Impossible." "He's out of state," she replied instantly. "Oh, must have been someone else then. He just looked exactly like him." I didn't sleep that night, not a minute, because the thought kept looping in my mind. What if it wasn't someone who looked like him? What if it was him? Daniel returned 2 days later. He walked through the door smiling, carrying his suitcase and a small bag with chocolates. "Miss my girls?" he said. I hugged him, but this time I didn't inhale his scent. Affectionately, I searched it, analyzed it, and there it was again, that faint floral smell. Not new hotel shampoo, not new detergent, perfume. A woman's perfume. I wanted to ask. I wanted to scream, but I wasn't ready for the answer, so instead I asked something simple. How was Denver? Daniel froze. Barely half a second, but I caught it. He blinked, swallowed, recovered quickly. It was fine, cold, busy, but that reaction, that flicker of panic, it was the first undeniable crack in his story. For the first time, I wasn't looking at my husband. I was looking at a man lying to me, and something inside me whispered, "Emily, this is only the beginning." That night, lying next to him, listening to his breathing, I made a decision that would change the next months of my life. I would stop asking questions. I would stop giving him chances to lie. I would stop accepting whatever story he gave me instead. I would quietly watch, observe, wait, because if my husband was hiding something, I was going to find it. No matter how painful the truth was, no matter how deep the betrayal ran, I wasn't going to be blindsided again when I finally calmed down enough to breathe. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the envelope again. Inside it were the documents that shattered the last of my denial. Hotel bills from places my husband had never mentioned. Credit card charges in towns he never worked in. And photo timestamps that didn't match any business trip he'd ever told me about. For the first time in my marriage, I felt like a stranger in my own life. I wanted answers, but I also wasn't ready for them. The next morning, I dialed the number on one of the hotel receipts. My hands shook, my voice barely steady. All I asked was one simple question. "Can you confirm the reservation for a Mr. Daniel Harris?" The hotel clerk typed for a few seconds and then replied, "Yes, ma'am, he stayed 4 nights. With another guest under the same booking." My heart nearly stopped. Another guest. Not coworker, not conference attendee, just another guest. I asked for a name. The clerk couldn't give it, but she did say something that sent a jolt through me. They checked in as a couple. A couple. Those words echoed in my head until it felt like the room was spinning for the next few days. I quietly pieced together the truth. Every extended trip, every delayed flight, every late meeting, they weren't unfortunate work inconveniences. They were carefully constructed lies, and then something unexpected happened. A woman messaged me on Facebook. Her name was Clara, and she wrote, "I think we need to talk. It's about your husband." I nearly dropped my phone. We met at a small cafe. She looked nervous, shifting in her seat, twisting a napkin with trembling fingers. "I didn't want to get involved," she said, "but you deserve to know." Then she told me everything. My husband hadn't been cheating with one woman. He had been living a second life, paying for an apartment, funding weekends away, and telling her the same story he told me, that his job required constant travel. He even told her he was single. I felt sick. All those extended trips, all the times I waited for him to come home, every lonely night I blamed myself for being too needy. He was with her, not working, not traveling, not providing for our family, just living a lie. When Daniel finally came home from his trip, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even ask why. I simply placed the box of documents on the table and said the words that had been building inside. "Me, for years. Tell me the truth. All of it." At first he denied everything, claimed misunderstandings, work connections, and even suggested I was overthinking. But the evidence crushed every lie before it even left his mouth. Finally, he sank into a chair, buried his face in his hands, and exhaled. I didn't know how to stop. Not an apology, not regret, just a confession that he had let his lies grow too big to control. I didn't scream, I didn't beg, I didn't fall apart in that moment. I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, clarity. His lies didn't make me unlovable. His betrayals didn't make me weak. His choices didn't define my worth. I realized I had been holding on to a marriage that had ended long before I knew the truth. So I stood up, picked up the envelope, and said the final words I ever said to him as his wife. "You extended your trips. Now I'm extending my future without you." Leaving wasn't easy. Starting over was terrifying. But at 40, I learned something powerful. You don't get to choose when life breaks you, but you do get to choose how you rebuild. And I rebuilt myself with honesty.